With the 2025 World Cup of Darts just a couple of weeks away, I thought I'd take a look at the history of one of the countries in the event, but not one of the big hitters, instead a nation who was seemingly cursed by their first entry to the event. That country is the Czech Republic, who despite having had some good players over the year and putting in some good averages in the event, took unbelievably long to get their first win in the tournament. Hello and welcome back to the Darts World channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the World Cup curse of the Czech Republic and how that now may be finally coming to an end. In early 2010, the original but struggling darts organisation, the BDO, turned down a £1 million takeover offer from the PDC and its chairman Barry Hearn, with the BDO chief Ollie Croft calling it a cheap publicity stunt. Following that decision, the PDC chose to instead focus on developing their own tour to become the outright dominant force in the sport, and to do so, they launched 3 new events for that year, including a new major pairs event, the World Cup of Darts, which would feature teams from 24 countries. Eventually, the date and venue for the first edition were announced, with it being held just before the World Championships between the 3rd and 5th of December 2010 at the Rainton Meadows Arena in Houghton-le-Spring, Tyne and Wear, England. This is in the northeast and has been renamed now to Sunderland Live. In late October, the competing nations and players were announced, with the Czech Republic being one of the teams and represented by relative unknowns Martin Capuchin, who I can't even find a photo of, but reached the last 64 of a floor event that year, and Pavel Dirtil, who in 2024 went on a great run at the Czech Darts Open Euro Tour, where he beat both Joe Cullen and Josh Rock. The team were the 23rd seeds, and a few weeks later, it was announced that they would play 10th seeds Germany in round 1, with the team needing to win 2 games to get through to the group stage. But before the players could even think about taking to the stage, there was an issue, as the northeast of England, where the tournament was supposed to be held, was hit by very heavy snow in late November, with some areas covered by up to 15 centimetres. This led to disruptions on the road, as well as airports being closed. This was the UK's earliest major winter snowfall since 1993, and was forecasted to last for at least a week. This all made it very hard for the fans and players, many of whom were coming from abroad, to make it to the venue, and the PDC accounted for this, offering tickets for free for the opening afternoon session, with Barry Hearn saying the following: "The recent weather has been a massive disruption to the UK, but we're delighted to give sports fans something to warm up with at the World Cup of Darts. We look forward to throwing open our doors on Friday afternoon to give fans the chance to watch some top darting names for free, as well as players who represent the future of our sport." But the day before the event, it was announced that the Czech players would not be taking part and had withdrawn after being unable to fly from Prague to the UK. This gave a bye to Germany and meant that the schedule was amended. No other country in the event withdrew, with teams from as far as Japan, New Zealand and America all making it there safely. But other countries did face issues, with the Swede Magnus Carris having his flight cancelled and arriving very late, and the Belgium duo having to drive across Europe instead of fly to make it for their first round game, which they managed to win. In an interview with the Weekly Dartscast, Dutch player Koos Dompe revealed that he and Raymond van Barneveld's flight on the day before their game was cancelled, meaning they instead had to use a personal contact at KLM to secure a flight on the morning of their first round match day. They were due to play in the evening and got picked up from the airport at 3 PM, taken to their hotel to get changed, and then straight to the venue, where they only had an hour before taking to the stage. Despite that tough start though, they went on to win the event, with the much fancied England duo being dumped out by outsiders Spain in round 2. The World Cup then wasn't held in 2011, but it returned in 2012 and has been held every year since. But for 2012 and the following 2 years, the Czech Republic weren't included, as they just didn't really have anyone notable enough on the order of merit. But in 2015, they were finally invited again, with their team being made up of Michael Kochek, who is on the left here, and Pavel Yerkel on the right. Both men hadn't done anything of note in the PDC, but they managed to go 2-1 up on a much more experienced Austrian team, before eventually losing the nation's first game on a World Cup stage with a fairly respectable average of 77. Dirtil, who had been on the ill-fated 2010 team, came into the duo to replace Yerkel for 2016, and the team averaged 77 in a disappointing 5-3 loss to China, who averaged 80. In an all-new team for 2017, Karel Sedlacek, who was throwing here, made his debut, and he's been in the lineup for every year since. That year, he was partnered by Frantisek and Puller, and the team averaged 88 in a 5-1 loss where there wasn't much they could do against the Dutch team of Van Gerwen and Van Barneveld, who averaged 109 in a game which took just 11 minutes. Roman Benecki partnered Karel in 2018 when the nation got another tough draw, this time against England. They averaged 78 and fought to win 3 legs, but lost again. Their 5th straight defeat came in 2019 when a team of Sedlacek and Yerkel averaged 84 and lost 5-2 to Poland. But in that year, there was hope for Czech darts, as 17-year-old Adam Gavlas reached the World Youth Final, where he was whitewashed by a much more experienced Luke Humphries. He came into the 2020 World Cup team alongside Sedlacek, and the pair managed to force the nation's first deciding leg in the event against a good Belgian team, but Kim Huybrecht and Dimitri Vandenberg then held through to get a 5-4 win in a game where the Czech Republic duo averaged 90, a big improvement on previous years. But this is where it begins to seem like they were cursed, as the following year, the same duo brilliantly averaged 103, but was still beaten, this time 5-2 by Poland. In doing so, they set the record for the highest losing first round average in World Cup history. In 2022, they averaged 91.62, which was more than 12 of the 16 first round winners, but they got a tough draw and were beaten 5-1 by England. For 2023, there was then a big format change, with each of 40 countries now entering in a group stage where there were 3 teams in each group and only the top one qualified. Czech Republic was seeded and therefore expected to go through from a relatively easy group with Singapore and the Philippines. They faced the Singapore team first, and after 8 failed attempts and 1 withdrawal, they averaged 88 and won 4-2 to get their first World Cup win, with Gavlas letting out a big celebration after hitting the match-winning double. But there was obviously more work to be done, and it wasn't, as they then averaged 75 in a 4-1 loss to the Philippines, who also beat Singapore to secure the top spot and qualify. This meant that the Czech Republic kept their record of never having reached round 2. Then last year, they were drawn alongside what were probably the weakest 2 teams in the entire event, Bahrain and Iceland, both of whom were making only their 2nd appearance and hadn't won a game on their first. Surely they would make it out of this. Almost unthinkably though, they were pushed to a deciding leg in their first game against Bahrain, who averaged just 65, but the Czech Republic managed to edge through 4-3, securing their 2nd World Cup win with an average of 77. And their 3rd quickly followed, as they whitewashed Iceland, who also averaged 65, to top the group and finally move through to round 2 for the first time. So what happened in their next game? Well, they faced Sweden and got a poor start, falling 6-3 behind in a 1st-8 game, but they then won 4 legs in a row before Sedlacek missed the dart at tops to force a deciding leg. Sweden then secured an 8-6 win, in which they averaged 84, 4 points more than the Czech team. So, can they reach round 2 again this year? Well, it would be a different team trying to do that, as Gavlas lost his tour card and has dropped off the main order of merit, instead playing on the development tour, where he's reached 1 final this year. He's been replaced by Petr Krivka, who has won 2 of the Eastern European qualifiers for the Euro Tour this year. His first appearance came in Riesa, and he averaged a respectable 87 in a tight 6-4 loss to the European champion Richie Edhouse. As for Sedlacek, well, at that same event in Riesa, he averaged 104 to beat Van Barneveld and move through to a Euro Tour quarter-final for the 3rd time in his career and the 1st since 2022. Now, I want you to let me know in the comment section down below why you think the team have struggled so much over the years, and if you think they'll get another win this year. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please don't forget to subscribe, as currently just 15% of my viewers are. You can also hit the bell icon to turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I upload a brand new darts video. Please also make sure to leave a like, and if there's any topics you want me to cover from the darts world, let me know in the comment section down below.